You crushed their psychological manipulation. And here is what's wild. They never saw it coming. They were so confident, so absolutely certain that you were going to break. And the fact that you are still here, still standing, still moving, that right there is something they genuinely cannot process. Because you are not just tougher than they thought. You are one of the strongest people they have ever encountered in their entire life. And deep down, somewhere underneath all that strategy and scheming, they know it. They finally know it. But let's go all the way back to the beginning, because you need to understand exactly what was done to you, exactly how close it came, and exactly why the fact that you are still standing is so much bigger than you probably realize right now. Someone made a plan, not a casual plan, an actual, deliberate, thought out plan with you as the target. And the plan wasn't random. They studied you first. They watched you, how you respond to pressure, how you react when someone raises their voice, what makes you second guess yourself, what makes you go quiet. They took notes, maybe not literally. Maybe they were not sitting there with a notepad, but mentally, they were cataloging you. Every conversation, every moment where you seemed uncertain, every time you apologized when you didn't need to, they filed it away. And then they built something out of it. They built a strategy specifically designed to dismantle you from the inside. And here is what you have to understand about psychological manipulation at this level. The kind that was directed at you. It doesn't look like what you see in movies. It doesn't show up wearing a villain costume. It shows up looking like concern. It shows up sounding like advice. It shows up in moments that feel almost normal, almost caring, almost like someone who actually has your best interest at heart. That's the craft of it. That's what makes it so insidious. Because your defenses are designed to protect you from people who seem dangerous, not from people who seem like they love you, or people who seem like they want to help you, or people who seem like they are in your corner. And this person, they understood that. They used it. Their manipulation works on ego, but you are operating from soul, and soul doesn't have a price tag. They tried to bribe your ego with flattery, shame you with doubt, but the soul is incorruptible. Incorruptible. You cannot be bought, sold, or tricked, because your core operates on a frequency their currency doesn't cover. The specific thing they were trying to plant in your mind was doubt. Not just a little bit of doubt, foundational doubt. The kind that makes you question whether you're reading situation correctly, whether your instincts are trustworthy, whether the things you want for yourself are even realistic. They wanted you to look at your own goals and feel embarrassed by them. They wanted you to look at your own dreams and feel foolish for having them. There was this idea. Maybe it was said out loud, maybe it was just heavily implied, that suggested you were aiming too high, that you were overestimating yourself, that the real you, the actual you, wasn't capable of what the hopeful you believed was possible. And they delivered that message over and over and over again. Sometimes bluntly, sometimes so sadly you almost missed it, until it started to feel like less like opinion and more like the fact you'd somehow overlooked about yourself. They tried to put you in a box, but they forgot. They forgot you are the one who owns the warehouse. They had a tiny limited label for you and a crumpled space where they thought they could keep you contained. But you are not just bigger than the box. You own the entire environment. You have the keys to every door they can't even see. And here's the metaphor you need to have on your heart. They thought you were just another hill they could climb, conquer, and stand on top of it. They tried to plant their flag of control in your life. But as they climbed higher, the air got thin and their lies couldn't breathe. They realized you are not a hill. You are Everest. You are the peak that remains cold and untouchable to those without pure intentions. They didn't conquer you. They simply ran out of oxygen and had to retreat while you remain standing closer to the heavens than they will ever be. They were looking for your breaking point, but all they found was your breakthrough. They mistook your altitude for an obstacle they could overcome. They didn't realize that the higher they climbed on your mountain, the more their toxic strategies would suffocate. The thin air of your boundaries naturally filters out those who are not strong enough to respect your peak. They had to retreat, gasping for the validation you refused to give. And there were moments, you can probably pinpoint them if you sit with it, where it almost worked. There were moments where you woke up in the morning and felt something in your chest that was heavier than it used to be, where the things that used to excite you felt far away and kind of pointless, where you caught yourself thinking, maybe they were right, maybe I should scale back, maybe I should stop pushing so hard for this thing and just settle into something smaller and safer and more manageable. You felt that. Maybe you didn't say it out loud, but you felt it. And that feeling, that specific, hollowing feeling of wanting to give up on something that actually matters to you, that was the goal. That was the intended destination of everything they were doing. They wanted you to arrive there and stay there. They were playing checkers while you were playing 4D chess. They thought they were trapping you in a simple game of emotional pain, but you were already 10 steps ahead, seeing through traps that they hadn't even finished settling yet. Their strategy, which was childish compared to your foresight. But something happened. And this is the part that they genuinely didn't account for, didn't see coming, and cannot fully explain even now when they are sitting alone replaying the whole thing. Something in you held. There is this part of you, this quiet, unshakable part that exists underneath the noise, underneath the doubt, underneath even your own conscious thoughts, that just refused to let go. Your silence was the loudest no they ever heard. While they were screaming for reaction, trying to provoke reactive abuse to use against you, you stood there like a wall of steel. You didn't crumble, you didn't scream back, you just watched. That silence wasn't weakness, it was the most powerful boundary you could have set, and it shattered their ego. Maybe you don't even know where it comes from. Maybe you've never really had words for it, but it's there. It's been there your whole life. That thing in you that keeps getting back, even when getting back up makes no logical sense. Even when every rational voice is saying stay down, something in you stands up anyway. And that's exactly what happened here. You stopped being their easy target the moment you started being your own hero. You realized that waiting for rescue was playing into their hands, so you saved yourself. You stepped into that main character energy, understanding that no one was coming to pull you out of the fire because you were the firefighter. You were the firefighter and the survivor all in one. You didn't just survive what they threw at you. You alchemized it. And I want you to really sit with that word for a second. Alchemized. Because that's the only accurate way to describe what you did. You took something that was specifically engineered to destroy you, and you turned it into fuel. Maybe you got more serious about your work because of the pressure. Maybe you got sharper, more focused, more intentional about what you were building. Maybe you started paying attention to things you'd previously ignored, picking up on patterns, developing an instinct for when something's off, when a situation isn't what it is presenting itself to be. You became more equipped, you became more discerning. The very pressure that was supposed to crush you ended up refining you. And that is an absolute devastating outcome for anyone who bet against you. You are not just tough. You are spiritually bulletproof. This isn't just mental resilience. It's an armor granted by the universe, by God, by the highest power. They were firing lies and manipulation at you like bullets. But you walked through the gunfire without a scratch because your spirit is invincible. Yeah. Here is something you should know about what's happening on the other side of all of this. The person who designed this campaign against you, they are watching you right now. not necessarily in a creepy, literal way, though maybe that too. But they are watching what you are doing, how you are moving, what's happening in your life, and what they are seeing is the opposite of what they planned. They are seeing you rise. They are seeing whatever it was they tried to end. Your career, your confidence, your relationship, your dreams, your sense of self. They are watching it not because they are watching it not just survive, but actually grow. And that is a particular kind of torment that they've brought entire on themselves, because they are the ones who put you through the fire. They are the ones who thought it would break you. And instead, they have to sit there and watch you come out of it glowing. You are the plot twist they never saw coming. They had a script in their movie, in their head. You were a tragic side character who fades away. But you tore up their script and rewrote the ending. Now they have to watch you become the hero of a story they thought was theirs. You've got that unbothered energy that drives them absolutely crazy. This is the ultimate flex. Seeing you peaceful, thriving, and completely unbothered by their drama is a psychological mirror they cannot stand to look into. Think about the audacity of that plan, though. Think about what they actually believed. They believed that they could study you, build a strategy around your vulnerabilities, execute it with precision, and that you would simply comply, that you would follow the script they wrote for you, crumble on cue, disappear when they needed you to, and instead, you not only didn't follow their script, you seem to have writing your own the entire time, completely unbothered by theirs. That's not something they expected. They thought they knew you. They thought they had mapped out every corner of who you are. And then you showed them a room they didn't know existed. A room that was locked and quiet and full of something they couldn't touch and couldn't destroy, no matter how long they worked at it. They expected a victim, but they met a fortress. They launched an invasion on your soul, but you were designed for defense. That fortress holds the treasure of your inner world, protected by walls that cannot be breached by siege weapons built on lies. And what I want you to understand, really understand, don't just hear but absorb, is that this wasn't luck. People want to explain resilience like this is luck, as timing, as circumstance. It isn't. What you have is built. It was built through every hard thing you went through before this. Every time you had to figure something out on your own, every night you spent in uncertainty and still showed up the next morning, every moment you chose to keep going when giving up was the easiest option. You trained for this without knowing you were training for. And when the test came, and it was a serious test, a test that was supposed to end things for you, you passed it. Not because you got lucky, but because you were already built for it. You didn't just survive their game. You retired their jersey. You didn't just limp through the finish line. You dominated this test for the soul, or the soul so completely that the game is now beneath you. No one else gets to wear your number. You are legendary in your own life, and the chapter of victimhood is permanently closed. There is something else happening behind the scenes that you should probably be aware of. The people around this person, not you, the people around them, they are starting to ask questions. Because when you run a psychological game on someone and it fails this visibly and this completely, the failure doesn't stay private. People notice, people who watched what was happening, who maybe even participated in pieces of it without fully understanding the whole picture, are now sitting with that knowledge and looking at this person differently. There is a reckoning happening in circles you are not even part of. Conversations you are not in the room for. And those conversations are not going in this person's favor. They are dealing with the circumstances of having exposed themselves through the very plan they were so confident in. They are not mad at you. They are mad that they cannot control the version of you that knows the truth. Their rage looks like it's about you, but it's not. It's the frustration of a puppeteer whose strings have been cut. And looking at them with clear, knowing eyes is a truth bomb they can't diffuse. And maybe the strangest part of all of this, the detail that is almost too ironic to process, is that this whole experience has made you more powerful than you were before any of it started. Not just emotionally, not just psychologically, though definitely those things, but in practical, real-world sense, you are more capable now than you were when this began. Because you have been tested at a level most people never are. Because now, because you now know from lived experience, not theory, that you can absorb that kind of pressure and keep moving. Because whatever this person threw at you, the arguments, the doubt planting, the intimidation, the manipulation, the quiet campaign to make you believe you were less than what you are. You ate it, you metabolized it, and you kept going. That's not something that can be taken from you. That knowledge of your own capacity is now permanently yours. They thought they were burying you, but you were actually a seed. The dirt they shoveled onto you, the darkness they tried to trap you in, that was just the soil. They unknowingly planted you, and you used their negativity as nutrients to grow roots so deep that they can never pull you out of the ground now. So here is what's on the other side of all of this. Because that's the real question, right? Not what happened, not even why it happened. What comes next? And what comes next is something that this person was desperately trying to prevent. Whatever it was, they were trying to stop. Your success, your visibility, your growth, your happiness, your impact, the version of you that operates at full capacity and fully on purpose. That's exactly what's coming. Because everything they tried to unprove, everything they tried to bury, everything they tried to convince you was unrealistic or too much or not for you, has been growing the whole time underground. And it's ready to surface now. The seeds they thought they were planting as death were actually planting something else entirely, something resilient, something rooted, something that doesn't die under pressure, but actually requires pressure to become what it's supposed to be. Your light didn't just expose them, it blinded them, their tactics. You didn't have to launch a counter attack. You just had to stand in your truth, to shine as your authentic self. And that light was so bright it made their dark games impossible to continue. They had to retreat because the darkness cannot operate where you are standing. You are not the same person you were when this started. You are more alert, more grounded, more clear about who you are and what you are actually capable of. You have a level of self-knowledge now that most people spend decades trying to develop. And you haven't because you went through something real and came out the other side intact. That's not a small thing. That's everything. Because the version of you that exists right now, the one that survived this, that alchemized it, that didn't break under conditions that were specifically designed to break them, that version is equipped to build something that lasts, something that no one can dismantle from the outside, because it has built on a foundation that was treated, tested in the fire and held. You are the strongest person in the room, even when you are the only one in it. This journey has been lonely, yeah. Being a chosen, strong soul often is. But you need to realize that your strength isn't validated by a crowd. When you are alone in that room, the force that stands with you is the force of everything you have become, you have overcome. You are the entire room's worth of power, all by yourself. They wanted your dreams buried. They are about to watch them bloom. And there is nothing they can do about it, because the thing about a seed is that once it's planted deep enough and the conditions are right, it doesn't ask for permission to grow. It just grows. And yours is growing right now, even as you are processing all of this, even as you are finally understanding the full scope of what was aimed at you and how close it came. Underneath all of that, something is growing, something that belongs entirely to you, something that was always yours to begin with, that they were never actually going to be able to take, no matter how long they tried or how precisely they engineered their attempt. You held onto it through everything. You are still holding onto it now. And where you're about to go with it is going to show everyone, including you, exactly who you were built to be. You are the Everest of the soul, and they are still at base camp, gasping for all that you breathe naturally. You belong to the summit.